Let's just start either way. Okay. Hi guys. So I'm recording this just to let you go watch it later on. We're just gonna go through the chart analysis for this week. Trades that we've taken, what was taken throughout this week. So starting off, all right, good night, man. So starting off here, we're just gonna go over the trades I was taking this week, guys. I'm just gonna give you all like my thought process. What was I thinking at the point of time when I entered these trades, and what was I looking for?
I can have a snack box with mash, please.
All right. So I just meet that person. Right. Okay. So I just making sure everybody can hear me clearly, right? If you can hear me clearly, just type it in chat just to make sure that everyone's hearing my voice right now. All right. Okay. So, all right, the first trade that we took for the week started was a GBP pair, which was GBP USD over here, right? So basically, what I was looking for on this pair, right, was to see some downward momentum entering into the market as price continued pushing lower. Right, if we look at the chart on this side here, right, this was the point of I was looking at. I was looking for a point of entry somewhere along this area right here. Just zoom this up, right? Somewhere along this area right here at 1.38842. All right. As you can see around that area here, right, price started to come up from this area, right, after pushing past this support zone. We had a little break, but then we had some rejections and price started to come back down, right? At that point, we entered the buy limit. So at this point, I was looking to see some pressure going to the downside, right? And my indication for that continuing was this right here, right? At this point where we got triggered, price closed underneath all these levels with a fairly strong bearish wick, right? A fairly strong bearish candle going to the downside. So at this point, I was looking for some continuation for price to continue down. All right. With that being said, I started dancing back up into that area. I started going halfway to the stop loss. I believe at that point, I suggested to close the trade off when that started happening. All right. So yeah, I said right here as well why I entered, right? So long term, I was looking at GBP to see more strength in it to continue higher. However, recently we do have some failure support to hold this level here, as well as a lot of USD news this week, right? So in anticipation of that, I was looking to enter short once price reached to that zone right here, right at the bottom of this larger support area, right? And if you can see it clearly here, right? So we had this area where price came into and retracted from. Then we had a push past that area. So at that point, once we started pulling down away from that area again, going below that support area, I was looking to see a possible continuation back to the downside. However, we didn't get a full continuation and price started to come back into that area again. So at that point was looking to close half and we were able to mitigate some loss, right? So like I said here, again, this is more of a psychological trade given that investors and central banks and hedge funds will most likely look to be hoping for more of an optimistic week for the USD, right? So I was just looking to write that optimism, sorry, risking 2% on that trade. So I do believe we were able to come up with well, I was able to come up with a fairly small loss on that trade. Right. Um, we continue. The other trade that we took was USD CHF. All right, can't remember the level. So if anybody have any questions, feel free to ask. Either type in the chat, or you could unmute yourself and just ask the question if you need to. And if there's something you don't understand as we go along, feel free to stop me at whatever point and ask. Right? We're here to learn. Don't be afraid to ask some questions. All right. So yeah, continuing. We have USD CHF. All right. And as you can see, we did come into sort of a support right here after this bearish run. So at this point, I was looking for some retracement from this level here. All right. So let's just pull that chart up very quick. USD CHF. All right, so if we're looking, we had our support level somewhere right here. All right. So at that point, after this multiple retest, right into that area right there, I was looking for a bullish push upward for price to continue moving, somewhere back into this zone as a retracement level, maybe even higher. All right, but we did have a sort of a shaky USD just because we had a lot of news events going on. So it wasn't surprising to actually see on these USD pairs for price to be bouncing up and down between areas. Okay. And that is something you have to expect, especially when you have high volatile news events, right? Such as
Ooh,
these that you would see
that was
here, right?
nice. I think I have to go because there's some stuff I have to handle. But I think I'll be free from 4 o'clock my time tomorrow. It's 7:08 p.m. right here right now.
No problem.
Um sorry. Right.
There's no issue at all. Right, this is being recorded as well,
Right.
so hope you'll get to see the video. Alright.
Y'all stay blessed. I would recommend Rico, the person who did the art for it. You think they could animate it?
Excuse. Okay, I think homeboy just talking. Homeboy was just talking to us. Alright. I'm sure now. Okay, now I'm just unsure. Alright. Um okay. I'm just gonna continue, right? This also being recorded, so you can rewatch it as well outside either into the group, upload it somewhere somehow. Alright. So like I was saying, with USD CHF, we had price coming down into that support area, right? There wasn't enough rejection for that continuation move upwards. So like I said right here, I was entering with a 1% risk. However, I was risking last week's profit on that trade, right? It's more so of a riskier setup. Once again, because we did have that strong bearish push to the downside, right? And this is the thing about trading retracements. You don't you don't always know when that retracement would end. All right. It's not something that you could predict with a 100% a surety or anything like that, right? It's more so of a there are ways that you could deduce where it may end, but it's more of a riskier thing to do. All right. So like I said, I was entering with a 1% risk, right? A relatively low risk, risking last week's profit. So if you were new into this week into the trading group or whatever, then that's basically me saying that okay, I'm entering this, but I do suggest if you are going to enter this as well, use a low risk, maybe 0.5% or something like that. If you're comfortable with the risk, then you can use it for 1%. But as you see, price pushed down a little bit more, and then from this area right there, we had some rejections. Right around here, we had this strong bullish rejection from this area here. So if we saw this at the point of time when it did happen, this would have been sort of an indication that, okay, from now, from now we'll probably see price continue moving higher up, right? So if we did see this, something like this could have been a trade we could potentially gotten into, right? Because now we had this bullish push from within this downtrend, basically saying, all right, for whatever reason, more buyers stepped in, probably sellers are taking in their profits, all right? So that selling pressure now starts to break down, right? The more sellers that it had in the market, it started to lessen. And from then, people started buying into this asset, this currency pair, and now price is starting to kind of trend upwards a little bit. All right, and this has to do again a little bit on the market psychology side, right? Because fundamentally, this isn't. Sorry, technically, this isn't something that you notice while it was happening. Because the same way price pushed from this area, we could have had a corrective move all the way back down, right? Meaning that we could have had a candle pushing all the way back down, closing this.
Josh, sorry about before, but you could just go back a little bit because initially go in
Too much
that
people talking
discount.
at one time.
Sorry. It's just initially
Scrape that
initially,
bean, boy. Scrape that bean.
this time, it's just initially, well, I would have got caught with this because I thought at the first descent it would go into a discount. Well, that's what I call it. And you traded back on the retracement. Uh, Also, one thing I kind of do at times is kind of look for the liquidity void, um, like from the original high to see,
Mm.
well, okay, well, where the market will try and take out my buy stops or whatever. So I could then trade from there. So it'll only go up so I could make like 20, 40 pips or what.
Okay, okay. All
Um,
right.
I was just wanting a little bit more explanation. If you could just go back over the first major drop to the retracement or the candle, um, the bullish candle.
Okay, and this pair right here on USDC, Jeff.
Yes.
Okay. All right, no problem. All right. So for something like this, right, mainly what I look at, right, is the candle patterns or like the formation of the candles, right? So as you can see, let me just enlarge in this right here, right? And let's just take everything off. You see a little clear, right? So as you can see, right, this is on the forward time frame. We can see that we sort of moving to the downside, right? If you look over here to the left, we have strong candles pushing downwards, right? This one right here, right? As price starts coming upwards a little bit, we also formed a resistance at this area right here, right? So you can see that again, price came, pushed into this area multiple times and pushed away, right? Again, with those strong bearish candles retracting from that area, right? So as we come down here to the more recent time frame, where we will take our trades for this week, all right? Let's go to the 1 hour, see it more clearly, right? So we already have our major resistance zone, right? We already marked up that major resistance. We know which part that is, right? The last high, the last major recent high price made, which was in this area right above here, right? And as you can see from that area, we started pushing downwards, right? We started breaking below, making lower lows, lower highs, and so forth. We started continue moving downwards, all right? So if you look at something like this, as price as price continued moving downwards, right? We started breaking some major levels again because now we gain a clear sense of the market direction, right? We get a clear sense of where this whole where price is moving at this point, right? Because we're trading within this area right there, right? We're bouncing up and down between this area, right? Price it's not really showing a clear trend. All right. So we note that. We can see from here, which would have been the last support that we would have seen. Again, how do we know it's a support? How do we know that we mark it as a key zone? Is because as we can see right from this area here, price pushed down clearly strong to the downside, started rejecting from that area, right? We had multiple rejections. Again, it tried to break out right here, right? Basically, stop onto a fake out, right? Goes back strongly bullish into that area and continue moving within. All right. Now at this point recently, we had that break below. Right? We had that strong break below that area. So this is where we have a sort of a impulse move to the downside, right? We had those strong candles showing us that okay, sellers now step into the market, right? And now they have control overall, right? And another way we could tell that this is an impulse move as well is because, as you can see, as we continuously started going down, we don't have any retracement, right? We don't have any clear solid retracements on this as yet, right? Price continuously pushed down. It's not giving us a proper point of entry, right? We can't say this is a support and resistance. We can't say this is one either as well, right? We don't start seeing that until recently as price pushed all the way downwards, and then we start seeing some level, something like right here. Maybe we could have taken this as a possible. Let's just delete these here. Maybe we could have taken this as a possible key area as well, right? As a resistance area, because we had multiple times price just whipped away from here, right? So at that point, when we had that bearish push downwards, now we're looking to see some sort of retracement, right? We're looking to see some pullbacks, we're looking to see some key zones being developed, right? So in terms of like what I was seeing at the point of time was somewhere right here, right? Where price came into this zone multiple times, rejected from here, right? We started forming sort of a minor resistance at this level, right? So price started moving between this range right here. Right, at that point, I was looking to see some optimism again from the USD, like I said, for the start of another week, moving into NFP. Right. So I was looking to see price starting to push upwards from this level, probably get a breakout above, and we're gonna come back into here. Right. This is what I was looking to see. So in terms of understanding the retracement and when we're looking for that retracement, all right, you can simply look for those key levels being formed, right? Just looking for those multiple areas that price just rejecting, retesting, and whatever breaking out of as well, right? Marking up those areas would make it a lot easier for you to understand where possible retracements could start to happen, right? Like I said, it's not 100% guaranteed that it will happen. Nothing, no strategy is 100%, right? You had to throw that out the window one time. But you could do little things to make everything seem a little bit clearer to you, right? And this is one of the ways that I do that makes it understandable for me. So hopefully that's sort of clear, right? I don't specifically use liquidity voids or anything like that. I more so look at the patterns that the charts are showing, as well as using the simple support resistance along with some other confluences to place my trades, right? And fundamentals as well.
Thanks. You answered it beautifully. It's just well, I haven't really traded in a while, and I'm trying to get back into it. The consolidation on the slower time frames, did it indicate here that it was going to go that direction as a signal?
Okay, so in terms of if I'm looking at consolidation consolidations, right? And if I see that there's a solid consolidation on something like the 1 hour time frame, I won't necessarily go down to the lower time frames to see anything really, right? Because it just starts looking a little bit more choppy than in your mind, psychological wise, you now become a little bit too uncertain about what it is you're really looking for again, right? That could sometimes be a good thing or even a bad thing, right? Because it may be good in terms of, okay, being that you're now doubtful, right? Because now you start to see more noise on the lower time frames, you're less likely to get into that trade and maybe stop yourself from getting into the trade too early. But it could also be a bad thing because now you have that uncertainty playing in your mind, right? It might prevent you from getting to what would be a good trade as well. So if I'm seeing noise, right? If I'm seeing a consolidation, something like this, right? Here only 1 hour, I won't necessarily go down to lower time frames because I will know already from this we have these zones right here, right? We had multiple wick rejections from right here. What will give me a solid indication? So pretty dull to the background, right? What will give me a solid indication for price to continue moving upward would have been something like a break right above these wicks, right? Sorry, A02. Something like a break right above these wicks, maybe a retest. Just to show that okay, now we broke out of that zone, so more than likely we may get that continuation moving upwards, right? But as you see, price came into that zone multiple times, right? So if we did get a break above, it would have been a little bit more solid in terms of basically confirming the buyers that from here prices going to continue moving on. Um, but I wasn't necessarily looking at that at the point of time. I was more so focused on the fundamentals, as well as what I expected from most investors to do. Right, I was more focused on the psychological side of everything. And well, that optimism did come into play, but just not as soon as I thought it would have. It came a little later. And but again, something like this, you don't have to go down to the 30 minutes or 50 minute time. You just can't confuse yourself. All right. Hopefully that answer your question as well. Okay. Continuing on. As I said, when we did get this bullish push back into here, it could signal a possible entry for that retracement back into this key level right here, right? This is basically like a correction move by itself. As you see these clean candles pushing back up into this area, basically price is correcting that downward move, right? And in the market, something you also should note is that you see a lot of these corrections happening, right? Especially now with COVID and the more so volatility of price movements just being more so impactful from these events and stuff like that, right? And fears with COVID and all those other things are basically what's really running the markets right now. Um, as opposed as the technical side of things, right? So that's the future. If you look at Euro AUD, all right, this is another trade as well. Let's see. All right, so Euro AUD was sort of had mixed feelings on this one. All right, at the point of time when I sent it. Price did break and come to a higher level. I'm just enlarging this right here. All right. So I believe we entered this trade. This would have been somewhere around, yeah. Let me see the levels that I'm looking at. August 3rd. Yeah, right around here, right? So it would have been right around here, right? I believe what I said on this one, right? I was waiting for a retest of at the entry level that I noted at that point, right? We did get that retest, I believe somewhere around here, right? We got that retest and price started pushing upwards a little bit, right? And you're like, okay, we might see a possible continuation from this level. However, right, Let me just put it here so you guys can see a little clearer. All right, so we entered somewhere around here. We're looking for that push up, stops something like this. Let me just look at those levels again. Make sure I mark it up correctly. G's and H's. Stop levels at 0.796. The entry point 0.9, and the profit target was 6.825. Right, so this was the trade, a 1 to 2.4 risk reward ratio. All right, so we did have that push above, right? Price came, we would have entered. But if you look on the 4-hour, and this is something that as well, this is what we had on the 4-hour chart, right? So as price was moving along, we had some sort of resistance right here, right? Multiple times on the forward chart, price failed to broke above this level, or even just closing within that level, right? So at that point, around on the third rejection from that level, I was like, well, at this point, candle patterns, for whatever reason, price having a hard time to push past, right? That being said, we formed a resistance right around that area. If you go to the 1-hour as well, we can see that price continuously came into that area. We had a bearish close, pushing upwards and go off in the last bull candle we had into that zone once, twice, and so forth, right? So at that point, I was like, okay, probably gonna start closing half of my position at break even, because what this is signaling, or what this is showing me, is that for whatever reason we have, price is unable to push past that area, right? If it was going to continue, we would have either gotten a close right into that area and maybe a break above slightly, right? At that point, I would have stayed in the trade, but we had all those rejections, right? So I believe I know it here. If we go down, right, so this was it here. Close half at break even, right? And we left another half position running, just in case if we did have that push upwards. About this point in time, I think there was some fundamental news. That's the second. Yeah, we had the euro unemployment change afterwards, as well as some market manufacturing PMI. These not too important really, because these are mixture of different countries, right? Well, different countries that make up the European Union, right? Germany and Spain and all of that. So again, to note, something like this market manufacturing PMI is not too much of a really high impactful news event, right? So I don't usually pay attention to something like this. But as you continue, right, price started pushing a little bit lower down. As you can see, we entered the second trade somewhere around here, as we had this continuation move to the downside. This was a trade that set later on for a possible retracement from this support level right into this area of resistance right here in this channel that price did now start create. All right, so this was a 2.5% winner. We recovered the losses that we did incur and so forth, as you should do in trading, right? So when you see something is going against the bias, or probably not moving the way that you wanted to see it move, don't be afraid to close break even, or close half of what you're risking, right? You would get better setups would come. Don't be afraid to take the L, right? Sometimes you just have to take the L in trading. It just happens, it happens, and you can't really stop that, right? But again, something like this, I could have stayed in the trade, and I could have said, nah, it's going to go up. It has to go up, right? We came into this area of support. As you know, once price comes into that area of support, it get multiple rejections, it should go up, right? But again, form some resistance right here, right? Things started to look kind of bearish, so we exited half of a percent at break even, right? We started to control and manage our risk. And that is what would make or break you as a forex trader, right? Controlling, having proper risk management. You could take 20 wins and one loss, and that one loss is what is going to wipe out your account, right? So having proper risk management is also key in trading. I had like 10 minutes remaining on this call. It's a 45-minute call. 80 NCD, this was on the trade as well. Enter sell here, right? Stop sell 40% was anticipating a bearish 80 as we approach the news event, right? This was again the 2nd of April. Sorry, 2nd of August. Yeah, 2nd of August.
Tyler, well, I just like making sure everybody good. Is there anything like you get that you want like a little bit more of an explanation on, or like
Yeah, if there's anything that you don't understand, feel free to ask. It's not mystery at all. If we could just stay good so you can know and continue moving on. I can assume you could, right? I'm going to assume that. All right, yeah, so continue, right? At this point, again, we had some AD news, the 3rd of August, which was really the day afterwards, right? Right here was expecting those bearish movements from the RBA rate statement and interest rate decisions, right? Basically, what these two means in summary is a policy that the Bank of Australia were going to do. What were they going to keep? Whether they're going to hike up interest rates, which will have been a positive thing for the AUD, or whether they were going to keep it same, which would have been a less optimistic outlook, right? And as you can see here, they kept it the same. So at that point, when that did happen, we started seeing that bearish pull down to the downside, right? Initially, price did spike up, ever we entered back into the trade. Once we came back into this area again for that entry, as you see, price continued moving downwards, and we have gotten a 5.2% win on that trade. Probably close somewhere right into this area, I think. So 3%, I believe it was 3% I came out that. But as you see, it started pushing downwards. And this is why fundamentals is something you should note as well. Right? It's really the backbone of trading relies on fundamentals, I should say. Right? So like I said here, it's a momentum trade. I'm expecting a dovish AD, meaning a bearish tone on it, right? As the RBA statement comes out. For those that don't know, this is what value the AUD dollar would be valued at, right? If they would increase interest rates, which is good to combat inflation. If you don't know what inflation means, it just means the amount of money that is floating within an economy, right? If there's too much, that value of that whatever currency that is, it becomes less, right? So hiking interest rates helps with it as it controls spending on consumer goods and all of those stuff, right? As well as fears about the new Delta COVID variant as well, and restrictions being put back into place, dampening the economy recovery, all that contributing to that bearishness that we would have seen on the AUD right here. Right, so that trade, clean win. JPY did not enter that, didn't see enough to support it. Right. This was GBUSD, did come out at 0.75% of a loss on that. All right, again, this was moving with that expectation for more bullish USD, right? As we had NFP, I was expecting some consolidation. Price came to that area, I started rejecting upwards, right? So this is the thing about momentum trading as well. Had some sort of support right here. We started to come out halfway to our stop somewhere right here. Right? Either close all or maybe half of whatever it was risking the control risk. So that's a control trade as well. All right. CAD CHF. Just speeding through this right now. Right, CAD CHF, we have like 2 trades on this, right? So we had one right here when price came into this area of support. All right, and why did I choose this as an area of support, or area where to enter the trade? After this impulse move to the downside, and you can see that more bearishness, we did start to come into what appeared to be a daily zone right here. So right from this area right here, right, as you can see, we have this bearish candle, right, this red candle closing into this zone. Then we had sort of a correction move back to the upside on the other day, right, on the previous day. So that being said, if we go to the 4-hour, we can now see that we have some sort of support right into that area, right? Price came in, pushed away with trade, then we had a solid, strong close to the upside as price continued moving away from that area. So when we came back into that area, or relatively close, right here, we could note that around this area, we would have started seeing some possible rejections, right? As you can see, if you look to the left here, this here is where we start seeing those clear rejections as well, right? So that's why I entered this trade, trading with that retracement back to the upside. Came with something here for 3% win, I believe, something like this. Right, so this was a 3% win. At that point, price came back again, and we entered again on another trade, as well as we started seeing those rejections from this level right here, right? And as you see, we came back all the way up to that resistance area, and even started pushing higher, pushing against that area, right? As the CAD became more of a value currency. Right, so that was a nice trade, 3%, and I believe it came up like 2% here again. I came up into this area right here, right? That area of resistance. So that's another trade as well, coming up solidly. All right, US 30 and Euro NZD was another trade as well. Again, Euro AED, we done cover Euro AED as well, right? Euro NZD, was looking at this again, unemployment change, most of a fundamental side, was looking for a break below that area, which did happen, and it's something that I did note that would probably happen. As price continued here to the upside, we would have started to see a probable break below that area, and we did have that break. We could have gotten in for a continuation, but I did not send it into the, I didn't send it into the group because we already had some things that we were in already, so it didn't make sense adding all that extra risk into the group, right? So it was something like this. Let's delete this and this. Right, price started breaking out of this area when you have this sort of, you call it a flag, right? A flag formation. Price started doing this kind of thing and start squeezing, coming into the tip of the flag. You're probably gonna start seeing a breakout, either to the upside or to the downside. But when you do see that breakout, there's a possibility for a continuation in whichever direction it did break out in. And as you see, we did have a breakout to the downside. Okay, so this would have been a possible trade as well. As price started breaking out, a strong close below this support zone, could have entered for a trade to continue with the momentum to the downside. All right. This was the UAD, NZD, USD as well. Last minute here, run through this real quick. Price came up to here, this area. We started seeing some rejections. If we go to the daily right here, we could see that we do have a daily resistance zone. At that point, we will look and see those bearish pullbacks from that area. As you see indicated right here, we had a solid bearish close below that area, and then a continuation would have been more likely to occur. Henceforth, this trade was taken and a solid win did come out of it. All right, so we have less than 20 seconds, I believe. Hopefully this was informative. Hopefully you learned something. If you have any questions, feel free to message me. I don't bite. But yeah. Also, this is recorded, so I would send it once it's done, probably upload it on YouTube, and you can rewatch it for those that haven't seen it. If you could recommend it to